The engine is starting up.
For launch. GC. Go. Guidance. Go. Fido. Go. Prop. Go. GNC. Go. Max. Go. Eagle. Go. Ecom.
Go pending final steps to cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the R.I.F. Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you can need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Good evening, travelers and those alike. Welcome to this edition of the Orion Effect right here on the R.I.F. Nation Network, and that is the RNN. I am the quintessential cosmic surfer and time traveler himself, the Hitman.
I am Rhonda. How are you doing?
I am well. It's been very interesting the last week. There's been a lot going on. This now that we're kind of distant from each other, this gives us a good opportunity to actually talk now.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you see we have a little bit of a new home?
I do.
You like?
I like the little circles. They're different, but I like them.
They're a little different, aren't they?
Yeah.
We're changing up. We're separating from most podcasts and vidcasts, and this is one of the things that Susan and I are really excited about, the change up.
Yeah, I really like it.
Something else we've added as the background, the 777, of course, for you. And of course, sometimes I have those moments. The light bulb is down to my bottom. And then, of course, we have
The
to have the
light
new,
bulb moments.
you like that light bulb. And then, of course, we have the new banner.
Which
Allowed
I
in,
love.
that's a little steampunkish with a little magic.
Yep, I see that. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. So, the new look is coming about now. In a couple weeks, there's going to be some fun things that'll take place here as well. It won't always be this background. And that really depends. If the other background comes out, which we'll talk about, you'll see later down the road, that usually will mean the doctor is around. But right now,
That's a cool idea.
well, I've got an idea. And man, was it cool. I had a light bulb moment on Friday, and I went, oh, now I like that. So that's going to be something cool. Tonight, we're going to have a really interesting
Yeah.
group of people, really special. We've been trying for months to get this all straight for them. For
Yeah.
them. All right. Because we tried the alerts. We didn't have the connection last time. And we were so disappointed because then that next night I got on their show. We talked about some great subjects. And tonight, bringing all of us together, I'm really excited. So, yes, tonight is about the Mystic Nine. We will definitely be talking to our good friends at HE9 Society. That would be Ssint Germain and Avalon. I cannot wait to get them on, and we'll bring them on in just a minute. But as always, we always know that there's some big stuff that's happening going on, and we'll talk about that just a minute. But I'm going to hand it back over to Rhonda. And
Hello, Gabby Newsom, Sarah Steger. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a bit. Michelle Wilfong, Wendy Fant, Renee Cody. Thank y'all for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
If you haven't said hello, say hello because I know there's more of you out there.
And if there's not, go get your friends and bring them in because they're going to want to do this show.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This is
It's
going to
be a fun one. I like that word. It is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to extend that hello. Hello, Gabby, and it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Sarah, rock on. Appreciate you being here, of course. Michelle. We will be getting together with you. For all of you that may know, Michelle Wilfong has a series with us right here on this show. It's called A Haunted Apartment. And we're going to be talking about that and getting that in depth as that show progresses very soon. So thank you, Michelle, for coming and hanging out with us. Wendy is in the house. Hello. And Renee, as always, you're a magician of all things that's known to get us out there.
That's right. Hey, Lois. I don't know. Heidi, you are just amazing. That's all I got. You're just amazing.
Heidi is the machine she is for promoting.
She supports so many of us, and we couldn't do it without her.
And that's the one thing. It's not just us. She promotes so many networks.
No.
So many networks. It's not even funny. So we want to thank her, as always, for this. Yep, live with the 777. Yep, I got that in Rhonda's corner. Yep, we cleaned house and we kind of organized a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you see, we got the new look. And, of course, we got the new banner now, Lois, so things are good. Oh, you're absolutely welcome, Michelle. So before we bring on our magic from the ancient world, what's been going on with you? How have things been going? And how about this weekend?
Everything's been going really good with me. I had a medical, nothing terrible, but it was like a standard medical procedure on Friday. So I was kind of out of pocket all day. Yesterday, I wasn't feeling the greatest, but I went on out to Belgrove anyway for Spirits Festival to be with my team at FBRI. And I'm glad I did. I mean, just to be out in the sun helped a lot. I just wasn't quite feeling myself just yet. But it was a blast, and it was good to get out in the fresh air and be around people. And that Spirits Fest is, and it's funny, your brother was the first one. And I realize now how many people think Spirits Fest is about spirits if you're in the paranormal or you watch our podcast, but it's really about spirits. So it's a good time. They had a lot of good food trucks out there and vendors and all of that really good stuff. And then today, it's been really nice here in Virginia. It actually started off September, I would say a little early fall. It's warmed up just a bit. So I I kind of made the decision this summer, and that's why I've been missing from like watching some of my friends' podcasts and things like that. Is I made a decision after I missed part of the summer because I was so sick that I was just going to soak in every ounce of it I could and be outside as much as I could. And so I took that today. I was like, it is so nice out. I'm going to ride down to the river for a little while, just enjoy being outside while we can. So that's what I did.
You spoke about the river. Of course, I spoke to Robert. Evidently, Robert got on the river a little bit this
Did
week.
he?
He did.
It was a perfect day. It was just warm enough,
Yep. The weather's the water is calm enough to get out there too.
Yep.
You can't take a kayak on the James River if it's at a certain point.
No.
It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. We lost 4 girls 2 summers ago to that, and we're called river dogs for a reason. We get out there and we do help those that are stranded or have issues. And my brother is definitely a river dog. He will get out there with the rescue teams, and he works really hard with the rescue teams to help and search for people. And unfortunately, that year he did come across her body. So, but it happens, and that's the way it is. So in talking about Robert, the spirits, and hopefully he's going to show his face soon. Hopefully
he's enjoying this. I hope he does. But I can understand if he's been on the river. And like the first time I got inside and it was cool, and it's cooling off outside. I was like, ooh. The minute I like hit the indoors with the air conditioner, I was like, ooh. I got that relaxed. I've been out of the sun kind of feel. So
excellent. I have a feeling it's going to be an up and down, maybe with Avalon and Ssint. I see
having a hard time.
Yeah, I think so. They're popping in and out, so that's okay. We will get them back on. I'm waiting for when they jump back on. We'll pop back into it to your group. It's a lot of static. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Ssint is saying there's a lot of static that's coming through on his end. So
interesting, because it's not on my end at all. Or do we sound all right to everybody in chat, like where we're live? Do you hear us just fine?
Yeah, because I have a feeling that also could have to do with his connection.
Where are they based out of? I don't know if I've asked this before.
Now, at this point, I don't really recall.
Okay.
I know they're down deep south. If I remember correctly, I thought it was New Orleans. Okay. But we'll check it. Oh, one is. Let's see that. Kevin. Hello, Kev. What's in the house?
Hello.
Yes. So let's see. Going on again. Okay, cool. All right, Avalon. Well, let's see if we get Germain on here, and then we'll bring them both on.
Okay.
See if he can make it on. Luckily, I've got my Facebook notification still up, so it's popping off to my right going. I'm like, oh, damn.
But signal has been even weird here. This morning, I was outside with the dogs, and I was playing my phone. I was on the wireless network on my phone, granted, outside, but it's right there. So it's not, it was coming through the door, and I was on Bluetooth listening to my radio, right? Just listening to music. And it was in and out, whether I switched from Bluetooth to my, internet connection, or if I was just using my phone. It was very sketchy. It was weird. I was like, what the heck is going on? But it's been a weird week. Let's just say it's been a weird week.
It has. And I can actually give you a little bit on the scientific side. And it's pretty obvious. These are the obvious things. First, we are in the midst of 2 solar storms. We did get a solar whip from the sun. The good Dr. Tabitha let us know last week that we were going to get hit by this thing. Luckily, it wasn't that serious, but it was enough to cause some reactions. 2 meteor showers in a week. You realize that?
Impressive.
Yeah. We had one, I do believe it was Tuesday night, and we've got one tonight. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Of course we do when it's cloudy here.
Yeah, right. But for those who are interested in the whole meteorology type thing, the Shy meteor shower is taking place after 12 o'clock tonight. So check it out. It's going to be in the northeast direction. So check that out. Glitches all week. Exactly, Kev.
Yeah, all week.
Yeah, and I think it's astrological, but I also think it's earthly bound too. I think there's some earthly energies that are interfering with signals. And yet it be man-made or not, I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, I mean, it could be spiritual.
It very well
as well. Everybody's kind of up in arms right now. Everybody's feeling, regardless of your shape of the coin or what side you fall on, everybody's emotions have been running really high this week.
Exactly. Good Lord. I had him good for a whole 20 minutes, and then unfortunately it was like, all right, I see Avalon is popping in and off. I'm waiting for St. James to see if he can get on. So
Well, at least we know it's nothing that we didn't try to fix.
all right, cool. Right. All right, he's here in the back room. I'm going to wait till she gets here. I'm going to go ahead and read this. I want to read this so everybody understands the
Okay.
point of view tonight. Ancient mystical magic practices involved using rituals, spells, symbolic objects, and divination of influenced supernatural forces for desired outcomes like healing, protection, and or control over others. Cultures such as ancient Egyptians, Mesopotamians, Greeks, Romans employed these practices, often involving amulets, charms, incarnations, and elaborate rituals to manage life, understand the world, and predict the future. Practices of cultures come across as ancient Egypt. Use of amulets, protective charms, and elaborate rituals to ward off evil spirits and promote health prosperity. Mesopotamian practitioners are rituals to control supernatural forces and purify themselves of sin. Ancient Greece and Rome use binding spells. That's interesting. Binding spells, or, oh, this is going to be an interesting word. How? Catadesmedia. Whoa! Look at me. To influence outcomes in areas like business, sports, and love. And Judaism. Here we go. Judaism. The practice of magic existed through it was often discouraged by law. Some rabbis practiced what was perceived as magic by creating a golem or a calf. With these actions sometimes viewed as divine miracles rather than forbidden witchcraft. There's tools that we could talk about. I'm glad. Let me talk about the tools, and we're going to bring on the ancients. Common elements of tools, spells, and incarnations. Use powerful strings of words with known formulas to connect with gods, people, and desired actions or results. Amulets and charms, small objects, often resembling deities, animals, or royal symbols, worn for protection, to attract good fortune, or to grant desired qualities like health and prosperity. Divination, interpreting signs and symbols such as dreams, birds, flight, or entrails to gain insight into the future or receive divine messages from magic worlds. Rituals, performed action and ceremonies such as the use of wands or the burning of objects to achieve specific magical effects, and supernatural beliefs. A core element was the belief in the supernatural beings, gods, demons, and spirits, and the ability to influence or control through magic acts. Now, I'm bringing this out for a reason. Let us introduce you now to the Ancient Nine Society. That would be Mr. Saint Germain and Avalon the Siren. We'll bring them on right now. Good evening. Hello, hello.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You sound really good right now.
We're waiting for. Yeah, I went on through the computer. I'm waiting for Avalon to get back on because it was staticking on her end. So we were trying to see what that is. You know, we've never went on through this way right here. So I'm just giving her a second to get on too as well. It is nice to finally for us to meet up and everything.
Yes.
It's wonderful, man. I am so glad, and I love the topic that you picked.
It's going to be a really interesting night, and I like the word that Rhonda used. It's fun. It's going to be educational and opening to many's minds. So I'll say
exactly.
We'll be waiting for Avalon. She'll be coming back now. Saint Germain, how did you get into the paranormal and supernatural?
Well, you know, when awareness comes in, I think that it kind of started with basically my grandmother at a young age, because early on I was terrified, always sleeping under the covers, listening to them talk about different spirits visiting them. Some of them were wearing white suits, some of them were wearing black suits. And imagine just hearing that at 4 and 5 years old. So when I finally decided to come from up under the covers and stop being terrified, I had already inherited the fear of them, because even then I realized that the people that they were talking about were deceased. So, as I got older, I started asking questions and everything. And as a child, they didn't want to tell me everything. But I knew from going over other people's house that it was something different about these conversations, because I didn't hear other people talking about their dead mother and father coming in to visit them the other day wearing black and white suits. Oh, there she goes right there.
Did we get her?
Wait, well, hold on. I think we got it. It seems like she says it's freezing.
It is
Like
showing.
he is frozen for us.
We got her face, but that's about all we got.
Okay, yeah. So I'm getting ready to get her through. But yeah, that's how that went. So of course, when I got mature enough, I started diving more into it and asking more questions. And that's kind of like my introduction. I got the Zodiac and the spirit world books before I even got the Bible.
Okay.
That's just how that's how it is. Can you see us now, Avalon?
I can see.
Nope.
I don't know why it's freezing up over here. I don't know if I
Oh,
turn my camera on. I mean my phone on and off or something. I'm not sure.
well, I hear you, but it's a little, it got a little Optimus Prime sound to it, but I hear it. I hear
I was actually thinking of something completely different.
it.
Kill the doctor! Kill the doctor! But I don't know. We can make this work. We'll keep
Yeah.
it going.
So, Saint, I have a question based on all of that, because as most of us who are spiritual and gifted and that can communicate, why was it so open in your house? Because most families, it's not so open.
Well, my grandmother them grew up in the 20s, and things were a little bit more detached from modern society. So it was more of a, what you would say, put in the mind of maybe the color purple. If you've seen that movie, or maybe the movie Beloved with Oprah Winfrey, it was real deeply spiritual. So I think that maybe because it wasn't too far from the slavery age, people still were kind of like in their roots.
Gotcha.
And being in that, it was like not taboo to say, grandma came and visited me the other day and she had on a black suit. So as I got older, they when they came in black, that means that they had a bad message. When they came in white, it was a more of a good thing. They were pleased because they were never detachments, but these is what we call the ancestors. These were the kind of spirits that were visiting them. And usually when it was bad spirits, they came in the presence of black wolf like dogs and things like that, or he would come with a black suit. Can you hear us yet, Avalon?
I can hear y'all.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been taken over by the dialect. I wasn't going to say it, but Keith said it. So the dialect has gotten her.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that question, by the way, though. But yeah, that's how that went down. So it's always been it. So as I got older, I started reflecting on my childhood, and I'm saying, you know what? That's what that was when Grandma then was talking about that. That's what they meant by that, because of course my understanding, I'm just hearing my great grandpa them were dead and they still were coming to visit. My grandmother taught me as I got a little older that when we stand to the side, you can see them better or you can feel their presence. And also, I was also told about a sulfur smell. When they come, you'll either smell sulfur or you smell like sweet roses. So this is the language of the spirit. And that's what I was taught at a young age. And then my mother, she was deep into tarot reading when I was young and the zodiac. So she taught me those things very early on and introduced me to the encyclopedia. And so from there, it just went, and it was always natural. But as a rebellion, I went to religion to rebel against the what you call spiritual world. So I dove into the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons because I was like, so used to the so-called spookiness, I wanted to see what we could do to prevent ourselves from these visitations because I was terrified, you know. And then as I start reading all of these different classes of information, I start realizing what these things were that my relatives have been seeing for so long, and it's just been head on. So now, you know, it's a normal everyday lifestyle for me because it was embedded so young. So I'm glad that now we're in the age of information, that everyone has finally caught up with me, you and Avalon, you know, because I know as well from just looking at y'all and listening to y'all over the last couple of months that y'all have similar backgrounds, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see. Avalon, can you hear us?
I can hear y'all.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, now you're not breaking up now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish, yeah, I don't know what's going on with the camera, but yeah, I can hear y'all.
That's all right. We got a picture of you. We're good to go. Avalon, what about you? How did you get into this whole world of the paranormal, supernatural, and the odd?
Well, I mean, Saint is the one that like really, really opened my eyes to everything. I am from South Louisiana, and it's it's very creepy out here. So things did happen as I was growing up that you were just told that's not true, that's not real. You're little, you're seeing things, or it's spooky stuff was just like you're just a kid, just ignore it type of thing. But now that I look back, there was all sorts of different things like that would happen. Like for instance, my grandmother had this house that was shaped like a U, and every time we go in there, like we go toward the back of the house, and we feel like scared to death. Like it was like a gut wrenching feeling that we would get, like me and my cousins. And now that I'm older, I realized that the house was haunted. But then we were just told that we were scared, But that entire town is known to have like paranormal stuff and crazy things happen there and on that property and all of that. So um, once he kind of opened my eyes to everything, like I started seeing the pictures, and I see stuff in videos and everything. And they don't talk to me per se. Like I don't see them in a way that like I see a shadow sitting by me or anything. But like when I look back at videos and pictures, I can see them and I can like feel them there. So that's how I got started with it. It's been a journey, and it's just like they're everywhere, and it's overwhelming whenever you're told your whole life that this stuff isn't real. Right. This isn't real. This isn't real. And then whenever you realize it's real, and spirits and fae and all of them, they outnumber us so much, and
Yeah.
they're everywhere, literally. So, yep.
I think we actually touched on that when we all got together that night after the show, and we actually talked about that exact thing and talking about the cryptics and the unusual things, especially what we're seeing in today,
Yeah.
especially today, because people. I think the reason why it's all surprising today is because we don't have the knowledge we had in our ancient history and with our old family, if you will.
Yeah.
We are not taught in the same way as they were. So
Right.
we don't acknowledge the same spirits or entities or actions as we did, back in the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. And the thing is, I think that in sense it's more of a disadvantage because we have so much AI contaminating the original encounter. And so now we have to differentiate. And I think they did that on purpose between what's real and what's actually an encounter. Because there's so much. So and that's why I wanted to run that by you, because I was wondering, do you think that AI is so abundant at this point because they in a sense want to camouflage the invasion, perhaps?
That's a good point. That really is a good point because now we're hearing a lot of this. We're hearing a lot of the Blue Beam Project thoughts. Is 3 by Atlas just a cover up, or is it really happening? Are we about to get truly visited, or is that just a cover up? I mean, we got to remember the church. Nothing against anybody's religion. I'm using history on this one before someone goes, there's Satan. Look. Put, put him away. Put Lucifer down. I'm going to talk about that. The church was used to control man back in the day because Rome lost its power. They found out that they can't do everything by force. So what's the best way to do it? Control it by the use of that religion. So there you go. That religion's going to hide things. So just like cryptics, they're going to hide. They don't want us to know because means they'll lose control. And that's all churches. I'm not going to say, and I like to use the word Christianity, but I'm not going to use that. I'm going to say because we see it in all cultures, from Siberia to Asia to North and South Africa to North and South America. So it's really interesting to me, and I agree. Keith says I want truth. Kevin says sometimes on the right, but mostly on the left. And oddly enough, I can see right behind me as though I have eyes in the back of my head at times too. Now, I've heard Avalon and Ssint talk about that.
Interesting that he would say that because, like, I was speaking back on my grandmother, who was my first teacher, a Gemini, by the way. And she told me that a lot of people, because my mother and my grandmother were born in slop buckets. So at that time when they had midwives, the what is that called when it's over your eyes? The embryonic.
Yeah.
They were born with it. So the old people then called it the veil. So when you still had it in your eyes, it enabled you because the baby realm is an aquatic realm too. So I think by still having that over you when you're born, it still kind of gives you access to another realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's what they call seeing the veil. And those who were born with that veil, like my grandmother and her sister, they had the advantage of seeing the spirit world because they still had a bit of the spirit world within their veil, if that makes sense.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And Kevin, I can speak on that a little bit. I mean, part of working with spirit is I think you have to understand how they come to you. And like you said, you've noticed they come in the back. You notice you catch peripherals off your left side. It's about knowing that those kind of things to understand what you're dealing with. And that comes with time. Even the signs and symbols that they give you come with time. Just like Saint said, if they were dressed in black, that's, a foreboding, a warning, something I need to be aware of. If they're in white, they're almost like celebrating you. You have to know how they want to work with you, and it's a little different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree.
Absolutely.
Now, with saying that, I'm going to also go back because I don't know, Avalon, can you still hear us?
I can hear y'all.
Okay. Avalon does a lot of Facebook lives opening up, and Saint will jump on with her too. You guys are very open about what you see and what your experience, especially Avalon in your backyard. And then you move on. How do these things come to you guys? How do you know that they're there? If that makes any sense for you.
Avalon, would you like to you want to touch on it? Because
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, I feel that they have been around constantly. I think that they've always been there. I feel that they're the Fae and like the Jinn are. I feel like they're like family to me. I feel like I'm part of them. I am. I do feel like I'm aquatic, obviously, or I wouldn't be call myself Avalon the Siren. But there's something about them, and I didn't realize this till I got older. They've always been watching, and they watch all of us. I feel that they are the reason for karma. They're the reason that a lot of good things happen to you, and a lot of bad things happen to bad people because they do bad things. Witches that do bad spells or they mean bad on other people. I mean, they see that, you know, if you're mean to people, they know that when you're good to people, people that are really good to animals and they feed the birds and stuff like that, they reward them and they have good things that happen to them and those sort of things. I mean, you can ask my family, like when I was a little girl, I was always like, I mean, I grew up in the country. Like I had tree houses. I was always at the lakes, the beaches. I mean, I was always outside and stuff, but I was always picking flowers. Like I was always like in the grass, like digging and looking for things like that. So, and I think that, you know, it called me and that's, so I think they've always been there. I just didn't realize it, but I was also taught like, you know, that's not real. Fairies aren't real. If you see these things, you know, it's not happening or, you know, that's make believe. So, and then as you get older, you stop picking flowers because like, you know, you're a teenager at that point. You're not going to do that. But I had went to my sister's and my dad was there and you know I saw some little flowers, some little wildflowers, and I went off and I was picking them, and my sister and my dad were sitting there and he was like, you know, she's always done that, like she's done that since she was like 3, like she would just wander off and I watch her but she'd go pick the little flowers or whatever. So I think that they followed me. I think they've always been there, but once I started seeing them and knowing that they were out there and acknowledging them, they really want to be there. So it's like they more so want to be there. I mean, I feed the birds. I go out there. I talk to them. I thank them. You know what I mean? I try to do right by people. I try not to hurt people's feelings. I mean, I don't put up with anything either. Don't get me wrong. I don't let nobody take advantage of me, but I try to be a good person. And I think that they like that, you know. So I think that they gravitate, and they have bad ones too now. They got negative ones that are going to come for you. Those negative jinn are the ones that are going to be around the witches that are bad and are casting spells and stuff like that. They're the ones that help them with that, but they're also their downfall as well. You know what I mean? They're the ones that are going to make their teeth rot out and all that kind of crazy shit. So there's good and there's bad in everything. So that's how I know that they're out there because I've seen them on the cameras and the videos, but I also can feel them. And just knowing my history with them that I didn't even know I had, I think that that's why they're there and how I know they're there.
Yeah, so when me and Avalon first came across each other a few years ago, I had already experienced them. And the way I came across them on a video, cell phones had just came out, and one of my sister had died. So I don't know what came to me. I said, let me look in her Polaroids. So when I picked up her Polaroid, because I was trying to get an understanding of the kind of death she experienced. When I looked at her Polaroid picture, I saw an imp next to her. So for me not to want to say I was tripping, because I was maybe around 19, I was like, I know grandma and them used to talk about this, but is this what I'm the experience? Because I'm about 19. So this was kind of, phones weren't really doing the stuff that they're doing now. So I sent it to my dad and I said, Dad, look at the picture of Michelle. That's my sister. And I say, do you see that thing? And I some kind of way I got the picture to him. I don't remember. And he was like, saying, what is that? And then that's when the habits start coming. So the Polaroid pictures, I started looking throughout the pictures. And then because I had never seen one up close in person like my grandma and my uncle, because I don't think I was born with a veil. I was born in California, a normal birth, you know. So I never went through that, but I started seeing them if I took pictures. So over the years, when I finally got to Avalon, you know what I'm saying, we were talking about the spirits, but I was like, you know what? Anybody can sit up and talk about it, and I don't want to sit up and just be seeming like I'm just telling her this shit. And she think, because, you know, she got discernment, so she would have been able to tell if it was some bullshit. So I said, you know what? I just don't want to seem unauthentic to you. I'm going to show you. And we took pictures around her house, and that's when we seen her uncle that had passed years ago. And I'll let her go from there.
Well, okay, so we were looking around with the camera, you know, taking pictures kind of in the dark, and that's the best way to see them. It's kind of in a dim light. And take not just pictures but videos, because a picture is only going to catch one shot, and that's what I tell everyone. Like, a picture's great, I don't mind looking at a picture, but a video, especially stuff that shape shifts, whether it's a jinn or a fairy, or I mean ghost or transparent, so you might see a certain you might not be able to see them in a certain light, and you might not be able to see them in the dark either. It just depends. So that's where the videos come into play. And then you could stop the videos and look on different shots and see them. But anyway, so my uncle,
Avalon,
my
Avalon,
yes,
can I interrupt you just a
uh-huh,
second? I just want to interrupt you for just a second. I don't
sure.
mean to, but I want to add to what you're saying to that. When it comes to our modern cell phones and to video recorders, if you will,
Hmm.
majority of all cell phones today have a correcting program in the phone, which means it takes several pictures at one time and corrects the picture. That's why we don't see a lot of the pictures we used to. We don't see
Hmm.
the actual event or things around you because that phone now in its program and app has a program to actually clean it up so you get the best possible picture. So I just wanted the people to know that it is there's a lot more to what we have on right now, and y'all are exactly right, and I want to make sure people come to us and
Beautiful.
get the light of the truth.
Appreciate that. You are absolutely right because just to add that before Avalon continues, it seems like from what I've seen, Ed, that the camera will pick up things that the human optical analysis won't. And I don't know if it's the camera's more advanced, but it seems to where there's a mercy on us to where I think that we're not permitted to necessarily see them like grandma and the people of the old times did. And I don't know if it's a mercy because if you could really see all of them, you would probably always be curled up in a corner and want to fold up. So I'm glad that I only see them usually through the lens of a camera because the ones that do come and actually make themselves to you, I have never felt like it was a good presence. I'm gonna say that.
Okay.
Now, Avalon, what was you gonna? Because I didn't want to interrupt you. What you were saying?
Yes, please.
Oh no, I was just saying that we seen him, and so a little about my uncle Chauncey. He passed in 1976, and he was like just like motorcycles, not just motorcycles, dirt bikes, and he was like just like a clown. Like he was always playing tricks, and he was silly. So, but I know that they all watch over us. Most of our ancestors do, and uh there was some things that continued to end up missing, like Saint couldn't find like his keys, and there was other items that he couldn't find and everything like that. And then when we saw the ghost of him, he was like smiling and chuckling and like looking like I imagine he died before I was born. But I've always heard the legend of him because he was my dad's best friend. So, and my family's very well known out here. My grandfather was a politician, so the whole town and the whole the whole community would talk about him, and they would say, that he was like that. He was funny, and he was just always playing tricks on people and doing silly shit. So when we saw the picture of him, he was kind of looking like to the side and back, and he was grinning with that grin that I've always seen him like grinning in his pictures, where he was, putting up with like my dad and them. We also saw my grandmother, a picture. We have a picture of her in the closet in where I wash my clothes and stuff like that. And I knew it was her because her lips, my grandmother had really, really like pretty lips. Like that's how I can tell it was her. And then whenever I showed him pictures of her when she was younger and when she was older, he knew that that was her too. So they're there, guys, And then my mom passed last year, and I feel her spirit around all the time. And a friend of mine is a very strong psychic, and she's went back and forth with when she first passed that she wasn't at the light yet. And it was just after a few days after she had passed that she was trying to get through the light, but it was kind of like she was harboring on something. And I mean, we all know like you can't pass through if you're still mad or angry, but she had just died. So she still had her spirit still had those human emotions. But she did end up passing to the light. But she's there
Yeah.
too. So that's that was the ghost that we had said. That was the first time I had actually seen like ghosts, and I'm glad it was family members that I saw, and not just some creeper in here, which I know they're probably around, but I think I would have lost my shit. So
Yeah.
Let us acknowledge we've got Sean Elliott from HCP is in the house from Hill City, paranormal. And you two, I would suggest touching base with
Yeah,
Sean.
for sure.
That's Dirk Diggler, Elliott Jr., Saint. You two, Sean, you need to listen to this show. Everything we've been talking about the last 2 weeks. So this is really cool. Now,
So I
you
got
can
one question before we go on, Howie.
please
For
go right ahead.
for Saint, you said something, and when you said it, I immediately was like, I feel like I need to say something. You said you weren't born with the veil, but would we know? In this day and age, those of us born in a hospital, would we even know? Because the doctors, a woman has a baby and it's shipped off for them to take care of so fast. I don't know that we would know.
You know what? That's you made a good point, because I wouldn't have had no knowledge of that if because they definitely take the placenta and possibly sell it. That's a whole nother story, but they do. So it's a possibility, because now our awareness, because I think also it has a lot to do with your age, because when you get older and you're into your spiritual enlightenment, that's when people see their most spirits. And my grandmother, let's keep in mind, were in their 50s and 60s when I was a baby. So it would kind of make sense why the stuff they were talking about, because my mother even told me that she was terrified as a child listening to my grandmother when she was in her 30s, because they've always talked about it. And my mother was even picked up by one and almost taken out of the house. But my uncle has popped his shotgun and it dropped her back in the bed. And then it went over to her. They could see through it, and it rubbed my mother's cousin, which it was really coming from. The ghost actually made a mistake and picked up my mother instead of the other child, because she had some mental issues, and I guess the ghost was coming to comfort her. It rubbed her on the head, and then it walked out. And my mother never went back to her auntie's house again, she says, because she never, my mother, she knows it, but she never wanted to. Some of us don't like the experience of the spirits because it's still taboo when they come, if that makes sense,
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It really
Oh,
does.
good. Avalon's back. I had a question for her too.
Well, just real quick, while if you're getting ready to bring her on, it's interesting, Ron. Did you bring that up? Because I was born at home. I was born in the living room floor. So this is really interesting. Now y'all got my attention. I don't know about the veil. It's something we could talk to Robert about, Rhonda, and see what that was alike. Oh, that's interesting. That's intriguing. You want to go ahead and bring Avalon on and ask that question? Then I've got one more.
I can't see where to bring her on.
Okay.
I think she's trying to get back on. Hold on. Let me see.
It went away. It was there and it went away. And she's back.
Hey, okay, we can see
and like she's moving and everything.
Ask her a question. Are you breaking up?
Y'all can't hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it has that static to it.
Hold on. What about now?
Same.
Yeah. You sound like a dialect.
Hold on, let me turn off my laptop. Maybe it's the connection with that being on.
But we can see you clearly though now. So it's like a cross between. When we see you, it sounds electronic, but when we don't, we just see your photo, it comes through clearly.
Okay, I don't know.
Well, I did notice every time I was doing something with the studio, it was doing that vocal thing with her as well. So I'm like, so it does make me wonder if it's a signal issue.
Well, she goes through this because her energy is so, like, she has a lot of energy, and I know you mentioned this too, Ed, that they're very electronic. They're magnetic to the electron. Wasn't you telling me about how they go through currencies and energy fields?
Oh yeah. Because I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to use the word magnetic anymore, but I will say they use some may use a electrified type form of energy.
Yeah.
So that can manipulate anything. So direct or indirect, it doesn't matter if you're Edison or Tesla.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of knowledge on them that has been hidden. I'm aware that the Vatican and probably the tablets of Alexandria contained a lot of the information that they probably used to do a lot of the resets and everything, because a lot of the towers, and Solomon reveals that in his secrets, that he used the spirits to make a great deal of his temples and actually pirate his gold and treasures. So it seems like even in the cartoons they dumb it down a little bit. These spirits can be commanded if you know your spiritual information to a level to where they will listen to you, because they are known to come to us for information. Like we are interested in them. We are fascinating to them because they need us as a host to experience this specific dimension, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see if we got her.
I'm here. Can y'all hear me?
Oh, we can
Yeah.
hear you. Don't do anything. You sound perfect. Leave the
Okay.
picture.
Well, now y'all can't see me, but it's better if y'all hear me. So.
Well, we've got a pretty picture of you smiling, so we can see you.
Oh gosh. Okay. Thank y'all. I'm sorry about that. I was trying to fix it, but this is the best it's gonna get. It looks like.
Yeah, it seems like it's either audio or video. You don't get both.
No.
It looks like it's going to pop in and out too.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway. Well.
Rhonda, let's get that question in before
Yeah,
we
so Evelyn, I had a question for you because I know you were talking about, and I'm with you. I agree. The Fae and the Jinn, they're all around us. There's more of even elementals. There are more than of them than us out there. And I know you mentioned that you picked up a lot of like photos and videos of them. Have you seen them with your naked eye?
I have seen them with my naked eye. They are not as easy to see, but a lot of the time I see, especially tree spirits with my naked eye. That's what I see a lot of whenever it's my naked eye. Like the other day, and I posted it. I was sitting in my living room and I had like just the screen door open, and as I was looking through at the tree, I saw a face in it, and it was like very very vivid, and I just was looking at it, and that's usually what I see, and it was looking at me, and I was talking to it, and I got up and I videoed it and stuff. But a lot of time in the forest when I'm out, and especially out here, there's a lot of cypress trees and there's a lot of moss. You see them in moss a lot too. So that's typically where I will see them, would be like within the trees. I see, like I said, mostly tree spirits. In the grass and that, a lot of the time I don't really see them in there until after, whenever I look. Also, in fences, along fences, I'll see discoloration. If you look at it closely, a lot of times it's like faces and it's actually alive. But it's mostly trees where I see them without I having to use a camera.
Okay, I was wondering because I I don't know that I've ever seen them, but I was outside one night in the winter. It was a warmer night, but it was winter. And Howie and I are in the South too, so it wasn't firefly or lightning bug season at all. I'm sitting there and I look over. I have these very tall hedges along my fence line, like tall, tall. And I kept seeing little glimmers of light, almost like twinkle lights that looked like they would fall to the ground and come back up. And I had been, I was like, I wonder if those are fairies.
I would say yes. I would say they are, and the reason being is because I've seen them like that in pictures, and you see them through the light, if that makes any sense. Like whenever the light's moving around, that's where you'll see them. Like I was saying, the different dimensions. So that probably was fairies, but they do. I mean, they move at the speed of light, girl. You know what I mean?
They were fast. They were like fall, but they'd come back up. It was strange.
That's probably what that was. And if you, being that you're intuitive, and I mean you have those powers, if it was leading you to look at that and really be curious about it, that's probably what they were.
Okay.
Because otherwise you wouldn't have probably cared too much about it.
Exactly. I mean, I'll just sit up there. I'm like, what is that?
See, y'all led me right into the question I wanted to talk about. Y'all led me right into it. Y'all were like, here's the door, walk through.
We aim to please.
Yes. So, with bringing that, what we have in modern society, as Rhonda just spoke on, what we see a lot of, I'm going to bring it to y'all to see your opinion. Is a lot of our experiences in today's society, is it due to the effect of the cryptics and or are these fairies and gnomes, etc., would they be considered the cryptic? Now, is that cryptic affecting human society?
You asking me?
Both of you, absolutely.
Because there are so many different alternate universes, I believe, going back to the Veda, that we live within worlds, within worlds, within worlds. And just kind of picture it as each world being a different blanket overlapping each world. And if we tune the station, so maybe perhaps when CERN did some of their experiments, or possibly what are those other stations in Vegas and stuff like that, those little underground facilities that we're aware of now, when they're doing their things, they kind of change the station. So what happens is the alternate universes open up gateways, and those that were in their form of fourth dimensional form, they're able to enter the third dimension in a physical suit. And this is possibly where we get the intermingling between the blood and the spirit. And this is where the offsprings come. And this may kind of explain what happened when the fallen first touched down here, whether we call them Anunnaki or the Elohim, because that interaction, even sex in itself, is a portal. And of course, we can create physical life, but between that physical channel station turn that CERN may have done and other facilities do, they open up realms, and that's why we have them in abundance. And just like refugees or anybody else, they just come and they take home in the forest, because this is a new planet for them. And some may see them and say they're aliens, and some will say, I saw a demon, or somebody may see, I seen a Reiki or a skinwalker. Somebody might say they seen the Slender Man. But all together, what we're seeing are interdimensional entities that have had access due to experimental um experimental things going on with the shadow governments, if that makes sense.
Stranger things.
Exactly.
Now that leads me. Y'all are just doing it. I'm just like, just serving this plate up. How do you two feel about the possibility of the upside down?
You're talking about the parallel universe?
Parallel universe, the direct reverse of this.
Well, now that I've learned about the firmament, I'm believing now, because recently I also pay attention to science. When they went down there, they went to a lake inside of the ocean. So that opened up the theory of the fact that, and I like you said upside down, that if we are in the middle of a galaxy, it would only make sense that as above is so below. So the water is portals. So that's why so much different millions of life forms are discovered, because the ocean is actually a stargate from the entrance of the universe. If that makes sense, you kind of understand what I'm trying to say.
Oh no, I totally understand.
We're surrounded by nothing but ocean, and they're entering, and now we're just now catching up with the fact that when we see those ships, they're not just flying, they're going into wormholes. And that's why when we see those things in the ocean, that's just we're trying to scientifically explain a whirlpool, but perhaps that's where we get places like the Bermuda Triangle and explanations for these type of existences, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to say it like this: R.I.F.T, radio immersion from time.
Man,
it's right there. I want to share a story with y'all real quick, because I'm glad you're both here. And Rhonda, you may enjoy this. My trip yesterday, I took a personal journey yesterday. And what I did is I went to Lynchburg first, saw our good friend Sean and Courtney at HCP. I left there, went to another location in Lynchburg. It's a historic location. But from there, my mind said it's time to go find your grandfather's church. Now, both of my grandfathers are Methodist preachers. or were. Okay. Uh, one church is in Peaks of Otter, while the other one is in Bedford. So I took the journey and left here, well, left Lynchburg to go to Bedford. And the first opportunity was for me to go to my mother's father's church, which is at the bottom of Otter's Peak Mountain.
Mm.
Now, I know how you two feel, but I think this is going to be really interesting because now that Ron is here, all three of you can give me your insight. I know what I felt, and I find it very interesting. Um, as I'm driving down the road, I pass a friend's house. Now, mind you, I've never been here before, only been as far as the friend's house. Well, I go on down further, and about 3 miles to 5 miles, I pass a little small church on my right. Okay. The interesting part is, for those of you that are not from the South, there are some distinguishable churches from black and white. There is Baptist, there
Yeah.
is Presbyterian, Methodist, Episcopalian. As I passed this church, on the front of the church, literally in wood stone, it said Church of the Travelers.
Huh.
Yeah.
2 miles later, I find my grandfather's church on top of the hill. Guess what the name was? Salem Methodist Church.
Wow.
Now, putting these are interesting. Do you feel? I feel like it was. Salem is where I am now. It's Salem, Roanoke. My parents met in Bedford. My mom was from Peaks of Otter. Both very close to each other, very close. Both Methodist preacher children. I I see the signs, which I know a lot of people will scientifically speak say it's a schizophrenia sign. I don't believe that whatsoever.
What?
Yeah, they say if you believe in numbers, signs, or messages, you're
Yeah.
schizophrenic. I'm like, call me crazy. But I found it very interesting. The church would actually have a sign out of wood that says Church of Travelers.
That's powerful, man.
Yeah.
It means a lot
Well, I think
because I mean, if you, I, you know what, when travel is a key word for most Masonic lodges, and a lot of the early settlers in the areas that you live in have a Masonic Shriner origin to them. A lot of the pilgrims, Christopher Columbus, all of them were ancient travelers. So travelers was a big deal at that time. So of course, even what's his name, John Smith of the Mormon Church, all of them had that information that was more secretive, or what we call a cult. A cult. So for it to be traveler, and then Salem means peace. So that was a peace lodge, you know, and that really explains a lot to why you probably have naturally so many witchy ways wearing the top hat because that's always been symbolic for warlock hierarchy. And Masons, there's a thin line between Masons, warlocks, and shamans. You know, all of their origins of belief systems come from a Kabbalistic system with the tree of life and everything as the origin and foundation. So now it makes so much sense. Why are you in Salem? And why is that church Salem?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the interesting part. Avalon, what would you think? I'm going to get your opinion on that though before we wrap this one up.
Well, I feel like traveling, I mean, it could be associated with time traveling. People are, travel to different dimensions. And we had mentioned earlier, parallel worlds. There could be, and everything is hidden in our face. So traveling could be, and it could just be some gypsies that traveled. Could be all of it. You know what I mean? But time traveling is always an option when I hear traveling. What Saint said, about the Masons and that, obviously too. But the parallel universe, I feel like there's the past, the present, and the future, and I feel like we've been everywhere. We just don't remember, type of thing. And I think that there is a doppelganger. I think that there is, or however you say it, because when I
Yeah.
was in Florida one year, this girl came up to me, and this was after I had had a major surgery, and I was healed up really well, but at the same time, there was a lot of nerve endings that were cut, and the doctor had told me you're going to be a little off because your nerves are going to have to reprocess and so you're gonna feel really weird, and I did, but I think it opened up something in my brain. I think it like opened up my third eye, because that's kind of when a lot of stuff started happening. But I was on the beach and I was in Florida, and that's where, as a little girl, I would hear voices in the water, and that in my family has all. I mean, you can ask Saint. I mean, they swim in the water with sharks, alligators. We've skied in swamps like this. We're just that way, and it's thought it was normal, but apparently it's pretty taboo to do those things. But anyway, I was at the water and my feet were in the water, and I couldn't get fully in because I had had that surgery about a month before. And this lady comes running up to me and she's like, "Oh my God, Jazz, me and my husband have been calling you like for the last few minutes. Like, what are you doing? You didn't see us over there?" And this lady did not look like she was drunk or on drugs. She was like a soccer mom on vacation in Florida with her kids, right? And I'm
Oh,
just
wow.
looking at her. I was like, and I thought maybe because I actually was called that when I was younger, because New Orleans jazz. I'm not from New Orleans, but I had friends that called me that years ago. Anyway, so when she said jazz, I was like, maybe I know her for a very long time ago, and I just don't recognize her. So I was trying to recognize her, and I couldn't. And she was like, "Aren't you a palm reader? You're a psychic. I met you with my husband the
Wow.
other day." And I was like, "Oh no, it wasn't me." And she was like, looked so confused, and she looked at my son. She said, "There's somebody here in the bar that looks just like you, and she has a little boy that looks just like that." And I read my
Wow.
palm the other day,
Wow.
and I was like, "Who is she?" Because I mean, I wanted to look her up, and I was like, "You don't have her information or Facebook page or anything?" And she was like, "No, I don't have it." And I tried my best to try to find somebody with that name, but she either we either met at a different time and that happened, and they're forgetting. But the husband was like over there waving too, so he was obviously knowing who I was as well. The weirdest shit. So you could have been, somewhere where that type of, I don't know. We just, the things that we know, we really don't know because we were programmed to think a certain way. So we're
Exactly.
all fucking confused, honestly.
Yeah. We're relearning the shit we should have learned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go with that.
The stuff we already knew.
Amazing stories, by the way. Both, hey, that's timeless, man. That's timeless.
I agree. I agree. I would like to extend y'all an invitation to please come back and see us. Come hang out with us again.
Thank you. Maybe
Yes,
we'll, the
please.
next
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
it'll be a smooth run, no camera problems, no mic.
No,
We'll get it
no.
together the next time.
Comparatively to what we've had in the past, this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, yeah. We can
Usually,
see you and we can hear you.
yeah, usually when we're getting ready for a big show that has a lot of power, everything goes wrong. It's
Yeah.
actually relatively smooth. Been controlling
Okay, well, thank
it.
y'all so
Well,
much.
thank
And
y'all for having us, and we would like to return and also have you, whenever you feel comfortable, you know, feel to come and be a guest on ours as well.
We'd love to.
Okay.
okay.
Absolutely.
Hallie, I
Absolutely.
have to tell you, when you were telling that story, I kept hearing one thing. Because I mean, my first thing is that's just validate. I mean, it's validation of everything you've been going through. The I think validation of your travels the last 3 years.
Yes.
Okay.
But what I kept hearing is you need to do some digging into that church and its history.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
Church of the Traveler.
You know, it's really, the Traveler's Church.
Yes.
That's intriguing because it really caught my attention.
I really feel like you just need to look into the history. Even if it's not the church that exists now, I think I would understand what it is now, but get the history on that church. There's something you're supposed to know, is what I feel like.
I'm going to have to take a little time to work into that because I do believe this is the part of area that perhaps I am not the right ethnic to be there. So I think it would take a little bit, but you know what? I do feel that. I do feel that, Rhonda.
Before
That's
you
what I
go,
mean.
do you feel like you may have some origins of a wizard in you in any kind of way? Do you ever, because all of these synchronicities, Traveler, Salem, living in Salem, and how close are you to a ley line? You know, like these are good things to take out. And what are your dreams? Do you fly in your dreams? You know, those are always indications to know if you have an origin with the Druids or the Native Americans, like you've told me before. It has to be something shamanistic because it's in your nature. Not everyone has top hats on that level. Even when you're not around, do I always talk about those top hats? And speaking of that, many spirits that we see, and Avalon can confirm that, and we have hundreds of photos, they wear top hats. So that's just something to think about. We have many photos, a lot of them have top hats. I don't know why, but it's something about that.
Makes you wonder if it's a time period thing, just in general.
Yeah,
It's a thought.
it
I know that
is.
the witch hats are because the stars and things that shoot down and the power. So a top hat could be something similar because it's up above your head and it could. I mean, I don't know, but it's always been known like shamans are very powerful. I mean, people have worn them. Very, politicians that were really strong, and I mean, I feel like they're all warlocks. But let's not forget, Ed has told us saying that he has had a lot of paranormal things, and his family, people that have come before you and that have been around, all of these things have been happening to you. So it's not really that surprising, but she's right. I would definitely look more into it because it's nothing happens by mistake. We all know that. You know what I mean? There's no mistakes, there's no coincidences,
Absolutely, I agree.
and the signs are everywhere.
So, unfortunately, we got to call this the show.
Okay.
Okay.
Travelers and those alike, thank you for tuning in tonight or checking out the archive after this. Hopefully, and the groups such as y'all's, many people can come back and see this and see what the future is going to be like with us four getting together. Travelers and those, remember, there's a lot of tension in the past. Remember the tension that's going to be in your future. We need to get through that. Remember that river of time. There's logs, the branches. You've gotten this far. You can get over that. And as far as surfing the great universe, we've got some great waves. We've got some great time to do some piping. Let's surf it right. And always may virtue be yours.
Do good
Thank y'all
shit
for
this
having
week.
us. It's been great.
All right.
Bye.
Peace. Peace.